Hello everybody and welcome back to Court A here at Nottingham Trent University. Game week 3 of the Optegra Premiership 2024-25. We have another massive game in terms of the title race. Newcastle, who are part of the hunting pack, playing for West Bromwich Albion at the top of the table, take on West Bromwich Albion Throstles, coached by former England manager Colin Gordon. Spells to be a fantastic game of football. I'm joined on commentary by Ryan Sipple. Ryan, how are you feeling ahead of this one?
Yeah, a very intriguing matchup, it must be said. I've had the pleasure of watching several Newcastle United Foundation games this weekend, and they have just blown me away. The standards they're producing, there's a reason they're right in and amongst that title race. The connection and the chemistry that they're finding, the acquisition of Cole Simpson has been a real boost, and based on the standings you have to make them favourites, but Throstles are a really good defensive outfit that are improving steadily under Colin Gordon.
So Newcastle United Foundation have the squad that you can see up on your screens now. Aaron Guthrie, Ollie Crawshaw, Lee Armstrong, Sam Smith, Ethan Fisher and Cole Simpson. We'll get West Bromwich Albion Throstles squad up. They have Amy Lee Julian, Amy Wharton, Regan Kemp, Matthew Harris, and recent acquisition Park Gaikwad, Jonathan Davis and Abigail Bolt. So a lot of options on the bench for both sides should they need to use them. We are just moments away from kickoff. The centre official for this one is Millie Bean, and she's tossing the coin in the centre. The two captains, Smith and Wharton, have just left, and we are nearly ready to go here.
Yeah, I think I've called the action of all three of Newcastle United Foundation's games this weekend. All three have ended in convincing wins. It was a 5-0 victory over Norwich yesterday morning, followed by a 4-0 victory over Sevenoaks. And then earlier today, it was a 4-1 victory against Nottinghamshire, which doesn't necessarily tell the whole picture. Nottinghamshire scored a fantastic equaliser, the first team to register a goal against Newcastle United Foundation in 10. They're 10 consecutive clean sheets, which in this division is fairly unprecedented considering the talent we have on display from top to bottom.
So the teams are lined up as follows. Lee Armstrong is playing as the deepest Newcastle player, although it is Ethan Fisher who's wearing the goalkeeper jersey. Ollie Crawshaw on one wing, Cole Simpson on the other. And for Throstles, it's Regan Kemp in goal, Amy Lee Julian, Abby Bolt and Parth Gaikwad. As the ball breaks in the centre, Abby Bolt giving pursuit. Lee Armstrong has come out to meet it. It's going to flick out for a Newcastle kick in out on this right hand side. Taken by Fisher down the line. Good touch towards Simpson. A good bit of defensive work from Amy Lee Julian as well, trying to put the pressure on, and they've worked it around her well, and now Cole Simpson has a chance to get in behind and spin. Takes a fortunate touch for the Newcastle winger off the back of Regan Kemp's chair, and so they have a corner kick just 90 seconds into this one.
Yeah, I mean, Cole Simpson is having a brilliant weekend. He's adapted to life at Newcastle so seamlessly, having operated for Hull and East Yorkshire for so many years. He can have an attempt here just wide of the left-hand post, but he's been so potent, and the chemistry he's already established with Ethan Fisher and Ollie Crawshaw is fairly remarkable. They're such a strong outfit. This is their typical lineup, and when you're considering the strength on the bench in Sam Smith and Aaron Guthrie, it must be a solid, consistent performance starting four for them not to look to change that.
Yeah, it's just a chance for Simpson to press off that goal kick, but no danger. So we'll have a repeat of the same set piece. Regan Kemp Newcastle so tightly marking every single one of his options. It comes to Amy Lee Julian. Crawshaw is the first there to meet her and get into contact, and Amy Lee Julian does very well to come out with the ball.
Yeah, as well as watching all three of Newcastle United Foundation's fixtures this weekend, I've watched several Throstles games as well, most notably a 2-0 defeat to Teesside earlier this morning, and whilst Teesside were fairly dominant, it was one-way traffic, securing 2 goals within the first 10 minutes. Beyond that, Throstles were really settled, and whilst they didn't threat Teesside a great deal in terms of attacking pressure, their defensive solidity is something that they'll need to pull upon in this fixture. But they're slowly learning under the guidance of Colin Gordon, and I think it's one you may almost have to cast your thoughts ahead to maybe next season once they've got a full season of experience under their belt.
So it'll be a 2-on-1 in favour of Newcastle on around the halfway line. Ethan Fisher takes the free kick in direct in towards Cole Simpson, who manages to find a powerful pass across the box, and one of those strange power chair football phenomenons. The ball bounces up and lands in the guard of Amy Lee Julian, so we will have a set ball on the edge of the area.
There's been a real high prevalence of that carrying across game week 3 of the competition, not just trapping up into a player's bumper, but just the raised balls is something that potentially would be explored going forward, and weighting those balls to ensure they're rooted to the floor.
Crawshaw couldn't quite keep it in the corner. Another goal kick. So 2 very experienced coaches leading either side. Obviously Jamie Harrison, who has been on the Newcastle project for a period of time as his team stream forward down the right hand side. And then Colin Gordon, who is new to coaching at Throstles this season. He's attempting to get them to play an incredibly ambitious philosophy of football, which, when it comes off, is fantastic to watch. And it's come off in moments for Throstles this season. They've not been able to employ it consistently yet. And in games like this, they're going to have to just be a tiny bit more pragmatic than perhaps they would love to be. As Crawshaw plays the ball across, well dealt with by Kemp.
I mean, in terms of fixture list, it doesn't get much tougher for Throstles in a single day. They started against Teesside, here against Newcastle United Foundation, and at 4:30 today they play sister club West Bromwich Albion. So 3 title challenges in consecutive games is not easy for any team to contest. So we'll see how they fare. Worth noting that should Newcastle United Foundation go on to secure 3 points in this one, they will go second in the division and sit 2 points behind league leaders West Bromwich Albion. So a huge chance for them to put themselves in the highest possible placement come the conclusion of game week 3.
Very much so, and they're setting about trying to take that chance here as Fisher plays Simpson. Good pass. Crawshaw. Well cut out by Regan Kemp. Amy Lee Julian as well was on the goal line as a second line of defence.
Over to Cole Simpson. He's puts himself into some fantastic areas and has done so all weekend. You can see why he's knocking on the door of 50 National League goals, and even more impressive when you consider the fact that for Hull in East Yorkshire, where he plied his trade for 5-6 years, he was predominantly a central player, so wasn't overly prolific in that centre.
Yeah, we've definitely seen a different side to Cole Simpson since signing for Newcastle.
It's his versatility, and I think it was a shrewd... Let me just hold on that point. It was a shrewd transfer for him and Newcastle. Obviously, he's making strides in the England talent pathway, and based on the talent and what he's exhibiting in the Premiership, you'd say he's going to climb the ladder and continue to do so. So ensuring that he's playing his football at the highest possible level is really important for his development, and he's got the ball now. He's just playing arguably the best, most technical football of his career. He's been very effective, was a central figure in Hull and East Yorkshire's promotion just a season or 2 ago, and now he has to play. He's playing in a different role out wide, but it speaks to his versatility, which will help with his progression in the England talent pathway.
Indeed it will, as Guidequad lets it run. Go out for a goal kick. Newcastle, when they get the ball moving, do it with such ferocity and pace to their play. It can be really difficult to counter against. A couple of chances though where Throstles have looked like they may be able to break. So good signs for Colin Gordon's side as Cole Simpson picks the ball up on the right wing, plays into Fisher. His passes towards Crawshaw, cut out by Amy Lee Julian, who sensed the danger. Crawshaw, Armstrong, Crawshaw again. The Armstrong flips out towards Simpson, who keeps the ball alive and keeps it in play. Looks to play back towards Armstrong. Bolt's the one who clears, and then past Guidequad just gets in the way of Ethan Fisher's forward pass. Forces Newcastle to rebuild. They do well through, well, looked like there was going to be a chance for Simpson to play that ball cross field. Didn't quite time it right, and so a set piece for West Bromwich Albion Throstles. Hopefully lifts the pressure.
Yeah, I think Colin Gordon is still trying to understand what his best starting four is, or the most effective. Obviously it changed from game to game depending on your opposition, but from what I saw earlier and I'm seeing already in this game is there's a good understanding, defensively speaking, between Amy Lee Julian and Regan Kemp, and that helps with that defensive solidity, because whilst they're not necessarily where they want to be in the table's placement, they're a hard team to beat. And beyond a 5-0 victory for Leeds Chariots early in the season, most of their defeats have come by maybe a goal or two.
Fisher sitting over this kick. Crawshaw. Ball across Simpson again, has a chance to shoot. Again blocked by that wall of Regan Kemp and Amy Lee Julian. Fisher recycles, so the play only really going one way at the moment.
It's nice work from Fisher. Unfortunately can't quite catch up to it, but another player who's playing some of his best ever football. Ethan Fisher will have aspirations of representing England and breaking into Adam McAvoy's Epfort Nations Cup squad. He's probably got the most difficult task in whittling his squad down, or the selection down, to just 8 players, because it's an embarrassment of riches really when you assess the whole talent programme, the England senior squad, the England development squad, and some really exciting players on the national emergent talent squad, for which Cole Simpson is currently a participant.
Yeah, I mean it's so tough. I do not envy Adam McAvoy's job at all ahead of the tournament. So many players staking such a strong claim to a place.
I think there's an emphasis on having some friendly fixtures and getting some international teams over to trial and test a number of different lineups and players and see how they fare in those games, and then base his selection off what he sees in competitive fixtures, obviously friendly fixtures, but ones where they will be representing their country.
Yeah, because it's not just a case of he can pick the 8 most informed players, the 8 best players at that time. He has to think about the balance of the squad,
of course,
the different options, the levels of obviously the positions of players, as Abby Bolt turns in and out and does well up against.
It's that dilemma, isn't it, when you're looking at Ethan Fisher, depending on what role he plays. He's typically the central player. I know he's adorning the goalkeeper jersey, and you look at the central players for England, there's not much room to force your way into the narrative.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think that maybe he's competing with Tyler Reeve in particular for that position. I mean, sort of the understudy to John Boulding.
Exactly. So whether he looks to be a kind of a backup or be in and around the conversation around Chris Gordon, and that can be like a 1-2. But even then, Tyler Reeve is versatile and can occupy that position as well. The same with the wingers. You would say that the starting wingers is between Ed Common, Marcus Harrison and Dan McClellan, But even Ed Common has to alter his position, likewise with Marcus Harrison, to try and force their way into the conversation, because there is so much talent.
Ethan Fisher and Ollie Crawshaw sit over this one. Oh my goodness, so well executed. They've done it before, those two. A fantastic set piece. It's so elegant when it comes off that move, isn't it?
Oh, that's an understatement. I said that I'd watched Newcastle United Foundation against Nottinghamshire earlier today. They did attempt that one or two times, and on both occasions well wide of the mark. On that occasion, laser precision, nothing that Regan Kemp and or Amy Lee Julian could have done to prevent it. Fantastic opening goal for Newcastle United Foundation.
Yeah, it'll be so frustrating for Throstles, because they defended really well up until that point, and then they get hit with something that is almost undefendable. Here's Lee Armstrong driving forward. Nice to see him getting very involved with play early on. Sometimes his role to do this is sacrificed in the games against the other top 6 sides. There's going to be a change.
I think I'm right in saying Ollie Crawshaw now sits just 1 goal off his 50th National League goal. He did send me a message prior to game week 3 kicking off, asking how many he was on, what his tally was. And I know he's itching to get over to that 50 mark.
Here's Regan Kemp. Ethan Fisher. Crawshaw. Here is Ollie Crawshaw out on the right wing. Kemp. Fisher. Ollie Crawshaw.
Some real fire on that effort.
Indeed there was. It's just the pace that Newcastle play at, the way they move the ball. They have such strong coordination, and they're all ready for it, which is that they all assume that the ball's going to be absolutely fired at them by their teammates, which means that their chairs are always really well positioned to deal with it.
You can see the visible sign of frustration on Sam Smith's face there, not capitalising on that crossfield ball. Thing is, he has to be on the top of his game now, because they have selection and they have depth. Cole Simpson's acquisition, Aaron Guthrie's upped his game in recent months. You have to really take your chances if and when you're given them.
Crawshaw, Fisher.
Nice pick off there.
Very well done.
A little bit of a miscommunication between Sam Smith and Ethan Fisher, both approaching the same ball initially.
That'll be hugely frustrating for Fisher and Smith. They were trying to work it down the left-hand side, but pass goes away, and so with 4 minutes left on the clock of this first half, Newcastle have been unable to extend their advantage. Remains 1-0. Throstles now coming forward. Amy Lee Julian looks to push through to Gaikwad. Well defended. Now it's Bolt. Gaikwad.
I don't recall Lee Armstrong even having a touch yet. He's been so quiet. Fantastic screen of Ethan Fisher in front of him, just ensuring there's very little that comes his way. Even now he's given responsibility to Sam Smith.
Yeah, he's and all of the sort of the moments where he has been involved have been going forward rather than being involved massively defensively, trying to drive his team up the court.
He's a really understated player. I've highlighted it on every game I've watched them.
2-on-1 in favour of Newcastle. Gaikwad encroached upon the battle in the centre. Well done by Amy Lee Julian. Aware, hunting that ball. Lee Armstrong. Ball across. Crawshaw lets it run out for a kick in for West Bromwich Albion Throstles. Abby Bolt. Again. Fisher. Chance for Crawshaw to spin. Doesn't quite find the connection he was looking for. He had the wonder goal
Yeah,
in mind.
that could have been the 50th. 2 minutes left of this first half. Fairly one-way traffic, but still just a single goal that separates the two teams. Gives me shades of the earlier West Bromwich Albion Throstles Teesside game. Whilst they absorbed a lot of pressure in terms of the final product of their opposition, they were able to limit it, but they haven't unlocked or managed to find passes to either Parth Gakwad or Abigail Bolt, which is going to be the route to scoring.
Amy Lee Julian. Bolt, contact. Nothing doing, says referee Millie Bean, and then the chance for Crawshaw. Can't quite find the pass. No,
I wonder if Sam Smith could have connected with the 180 there. I'm not quite sure if it would have allowed. I mean, our angle, we're at quarter side. There could have been more distance than it appears between himself and the oncoming ball from Ollie Crawshaw. But either way, they're putting together some really nice passing patterns in the final third, which is troubling Throstles.
Crawshaw. Smith. Crawshaw again, that's good play. Sam Smith this time does connect with the 180. Wins a corner.
Very late corner kick here. Doesn't do anything to really trouble the Throstles defence. 10 seconds remaining.
We expect Newcastle will be ahead at half time, so the discussions will be about preserving and then attempting to extend that advantage. For Throstles, it will be about maintaining what they've been able to do in terms of limiting Newcastle to not a huge amount of opportunities, but trying to create some of their own, because they've not really launched a massive threat onto the Newcastle goal as of yet, as we reach half time in this game. The first half ends Newcastle 1, West Brom Throstles 0. We'll be back for the second half shortly. Welcome back to Court A, when Newcastle are taking on West Bromwich Albion Throstles. We have just got underway for the second half. Ethan Fisher just launching the ball into the Throstles territory. Harrison has come on at half time. So has Amy Wharton, so has Jonathan Davis. So a whole host of changes for Colin Gordon, who has changed his entire outfield in this half. Ryan, do you think that's fair? Colin Gordon swapping all three of his outfield players after that first half performance?
It's something we're seeing fairly frequently from Colin Gordon. He did the exact same thing in the earlier defeat to Teesside. So you can look at it one or two ways. He's trying to refresh it. He's trying to bring a little bit more energy into the squad to maybe try and force the result or the scoreline in their favour. Or he wasn't necessarily happy with the performances in the first half and he's looking to exploit. But that's something that having a wider squad does for you is you can call on the bench, you can switch things up technically, tactically. And they're going to be tested here, however. Ethan Fisher looks like they may try and do another boom shot. No, he just drops off Ollie Crawshaw. Still looking for that 50th National League goal. He's the prime option. Strikes it goal bound, wide of the left-hand post. But yeah, Regan Kent the only constant from the first half. And one thing I will say is they made the exact same substitutes against Teesside, Jonathan Davis, Amy Wharton and Matty Harrison. There wasn't a dip in level, which shows that they've got consistency in the level of performance across their entire squad, which means there isn't then deviations. If anything, they were almost better in the second half against Teesside, with Jonathan Davis and Regan Kemp as that 1-2 pivot and Amy Wharton and Matty Harrison on either wing.
So here is Ollie Crawshaw, Amy Wharton challenging. Ethan Fisher fires a shot in. Regan Kemp is equal to it.
Very congested in that central area. 2-on-1, rightfully awarded in favour of Newcastle United Foundation. I think it was Jonathan Davis, Amy Wharton and Matty Harrison were in a 3-4 metre perimeter of one another.
Yeah, it did just get congested, but not too congested for Ethan Fisher to fire a shot in. And yet another save by Regan Kemp, who kept his goal very well.
Again, Jonathan Davis and Matty Harrison too close to one another. You can see the frustration. Matty Harrison is going to need to drop off, and I think Jonathan Davis is saying that. They need to anticipate and read each other's game, because it's going to start to get frustrating for them. They're going to want to try and keep players open for as long as possible.
Good save by Regan Kemp. A little snapshot at the front post by Ollie Crawshaw.
Little smirk from Mr. Crawshaw just in front of us, readying himself to take this corner kick. He's playing some great football this season. He's got a few options in support, but he's very congested. He goes all the way back to Fisher, pick off back to Crawshaw, into the box. Lee Armstrong can't quite make contact, and now a potential break on. It is worth noting that it is still just one goal in this, and all it needs is a lucky breakaway for Throstles, and they level the tie.
Yeah, and Newcastle need to be careful. They left themselves very open there. They were lucky that Ethan Fisher was just close enough to get across to Amy Wharton.
Interesting that both goalkeepers are in identical pink strips.
Yeah,
considering Newcastle have a green and gold variation of the goalkeeper strip, it's interesting that the match officials have allowed that to be the case. We talk about the potential chance and break for Throstles there. It has to be said that we have to apply context. Newcastle have only conceded 2 goals all season, and they went on a 10-game clean sheet run. So I think they're happy to risk certain phases of play and leave vulnerabilities in behind, because they have full faith in the players to get back and ensure that they don't concede goals. And we have 11-12 games to reference that being the case, and they're facing top opposition. Keeping clean sheets against the likes of Aspire, the likes of Teesside, is not easy.
What a pass that is towards the back post, and a great finish from Ethan Fisher. Sam Smith bursts into action on the right-hand side. He plays a fantastic ball across, and Fisher finds the gap. Newcastle have what you refer to as the cushion in this game. It's 2-0, and that'll be a great frustration to Colin Gordon and his side.
It will, but they haven't done anything to really threaten Lee Armstrong in the Newcastle United Foundation goal. So whilst you can be frustrated, you have to really be doing something proactive up the other end to force the narrative and the scoreline in your favour, and that just hasn't been the case. We saw it in the first half, the lack of distribution to the high and wide wingers. Then in Abigail Bolton, Parth Gakwad, it's been the exact same in the second, with Matty Harrison and Amy Wharton being very isolated. If and when they have been called into the action, it's been in and around the centre of the court, and we've seen a high prevalence of 2-on-1s because they're so isolated. They just want to get involved and contribute to Throstles' pursuit of a goal, and now 2 goals in way of scoreline.
So West Brom trying to apply some form of 4-out system, with Regan Kent pushed right up for that kick in. A risky position for him to be in, given that Ollie Crawshaw has chased him down, and it's now 1-on-1 with Jonathan Davis. And Fisher, that's a good touch round the corner from Davis. Harrison, you can see what he's trying to do.
Yeah, I think he hesitated. He was initially looking to engage it with the front bumper and look for the alternate wing in Amy Wharton, but she wasn't quite in a position to capitalise, so he hesitated, tried to control the ball, but in doing so allowed the Newcastle defence to just regroup and close the space down.
Yeah, and she's brought a sense of attacking aggression to the game, Amy Wharton. Nearly managed to fire it in past the post there, just went out for a goal kick. But Throstles have responded quite well to the second Newcastle goal. I always find it frustrating when teams such as Throstles that are playing against potentially teams higher up in the division, they always tend to wait until they're a couple of goals down before they really start playing with aggression. You wonder if Throstles hadn't adopted a more attacking set up earlier in the game, whether they could have been better off, as Newcastle have just made 2 changes, Aaron Guthrie and Cole Simpson coming on for Sam Smith and Ollie Crawshaw. Armstrong deals with that well. It's going to be a 2-on-1 in favour of Newcastle, with Throstles players practically touching almost. Cole Simpson, ball across to Guthrie, who just files it back in towards Fisher in the centre. 2-on-1 against Throstles. 4 Throstles against Newcastle.
Certainly being braver in their approach, but as you referenced, could they have done this when it was 1-0 or 0-0? Either way, they're finding little bits of success, that forcing the ball up the court ever so slightly. They had an opportunity there, just wide of the left-hand post.
The irony of that is that if it had been left by the Newcastle goalkeepers, they would have had a goal kick, of course, because it was indirect and there was no touch from Jonathan Davis. Of course, you've got to pray that the officials notice that, otherwise it's a slight issue, but indirect free kick can't go straight in.
First real attempt on goal that Throstles have had all game, but no trouble for Lee Armstrong. Back to Ethan Fisher, switches the play. You can see the intent, the angle was there for Aaron Guthrie. Interestingly, Ethan Fisher it looks as if he's complaining about Aaron Guthrie's placement, but I think he was perfectly situated, a really nice position to capitalise, and had the accuracy been there from Ethan Fisher, Cole Simpson was on the alternate wing and they just carved open the space.
Yeah, it does feel slightly unfair criticism there.
Another player who's upped his level considerably is Aaron Guthrie. I'm really impressed with his performances across the 24-25 season. He's used sparingly by Jamie Harrison, one of the more experienced players in this Newcastle United squad. Matty Harrison puts himself in a good position. I mean, that's unfortunate for Aaron Guthrie. He wasn't completely aware of Harrison's placement, but
my communication can be really important. Probably needed a shout from one of his central players or coaches telling him that he had someone directly behind him. There's no way he could have known Matty Harrison's presence either way. Guthrie just going to let that roll out. Kick in for Newcastle to be taken by Ethan Fisher.
Potential 3 points for Newcastle here. Sees them go joint on points with Teesside, but Teesside with a more favourable goal difference. Teesside on plus 35, Newcastle taking into consideration this result on plus 27.
So an interesting change as well. Ethan Fisher has gone off. Ollie Crawshaw's come on and he's wearing a much friendlier for the commentators' eyes and for your eyes at home goalkeeper jersey in the green, now battling with Amy Wharton.
I can't recall exactly what game it was yesterday, but I think the officials refused to let Ollie Crawshaw on because he was wearing that green and gold goalkeeper jersey, and it was too much of a clash with the opposition. I think it was against Seven Oaks, who were wearing green and gold as well. So it was certainly picked up on yesterday.
Potential chance for Cole Simpson. Spun and off the back of the Throstles chair for a kick in. Lee Armstrong. It's a good change from the Newcastle coaching staff to put Ollie Crawshaw in the middle, because it gives them a bit more, it gives him motivation. He'll really want to create something playing in a much more influential position, and will reinstall the attacking impetus into Newcastle's game that maybe went slightly missing.
Obviously you can bring it up at the full-time whistle, but if we're referencing the league table, when you look at 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th, only 4 points separate them. So Throstles currently placed in 9th with 9 points from their 13 games. They're only a point off the relegation zone, so they're going to have to really pick up some pace and some momentum. They're going to have to get some points on the board, otherwise they could very easily be drawn into those bottom 2 jeopardy spots. For context, the bottom 2 positions of the 12-team division will be automatically relegated to next season's championship. Whoever finishes 10th will play whoever finishes 3rd in a one-off playoff game for one single Premiership spot. So a lot of intrigue at the top and the bottom of the Optegra Premiership standings.
Yeah, it's such a tight league this year. So Throstles will really feel that they need to get something in the next sort of 2 or 3 minutes if they have any chance of mounting any form of comeback in this game. Here's Crawshaw. Contact. On the edge of the area, given against Cole Simpson, was the player in reverse. Kemp. Now it's Ollie Crawshaw.
I did have a conversation with Jamie Harrison prior to their first kick-off yesterday, and I did challenge him to secure maximum points just based on the fixture list being favourable, and barring a really late rally from West Bromwich Albion Throstles, it looks as if they're going to do exactly that. 12 points from a possible 12. They are very much in the title race.
And I think this is a great sign of progress for Newcastle, because it feels like, and correct me if I'm being harsh, but in previous seasons they will have dropped points in a weekend like this, potentially unexpectedly. I think that was one of their main downfalls, is they were never struggling to get up to play against, West Bromwich Albion, Aspire. It was against teams.
Exactly that. The consistency against lesser opposition is where they typically have seen themselves drop points. We always expect Newcastle to be in good games against West Brom and Aspire, as you mentioned, but it is teams beyond them top two where we've potentially seen them falter slightly, but they're picking up points against most opposition now, and their defensive stability has been remarkable.
Just a bit of a sore one for Jonathan Davis, as it just came off the back of his chair.
Yeah, fantastic goal from Cole Simpson. Just easy, it was too easy, almost. Ollie Crawshaw with the assist. Cole Simpson with yet another goal to his name. I'd have to track exactly how many he secured across game week 3, but he was knocking on the door of 50 National League goals prior to our commencement yesterday. He's now on 7 across the season, joint with Ethan Fisher, Ollie Crawshaw on 8. So it shows they share the responsibility in front of goal, which I'm sure is to the delight of Jamie Harrison.
And a rare sight nowadays, at least, Ethan Fisher coming on, not in the goalkeeper shirt. I mean, it's just become the Newcastle system that he wears that top. It allows him to be more easily defensively and offensively influential.
Yeah, absolutely.
Guthrie.
Nice pass from Guthrie there.
Simpson turns and doesn't quite get the power he would have wanted. Ollie Crawshaw recycles it.
That was the wrong decision from Crawshaw. I think Simpson would have been the better. He's going to get another attempt here. One thing I observed in their game earlier, I think they had a tendency every now and again to overplay it in the final third. One pass too many, and sometimes a shot on goal would better suit the team than a fired ball across the box. So it's just picking your chances and being clinical when deemed most appropriate. I think in that instance you would have liked to have seen an attempt on goal sooner.
And you can somewhat understand it, obviously, when you're moving the ball around nicely. You want to try and score really good passing moves with lots of passes, but yeah, sometimes being clinical inside both boxes is the more important thing in games, and they've certainly done their defensive duties well, and are getting the job done up the other end as well. So it'll be a goal kick.
When you're considering that this will be Newcastle's 11th clean sheet in 13 games, it shows how solid they are.
Yeah, and it's not even just impressive that they managed to keep clean sheets, but they're doing it by
convincing wins as well.
Yeah, and by not just saving it and getting lucky, but by really restricting. Very few people even get a chance against Newcastle. Is that going to find the far post? You just thought for a second it's going to curl in off the post, but no, it goes wide. And so with just a minute left, I'm going to push you, Ryan, to name me a player of the match.
Yeah, difficult one. I think all of these Newcastle players have contributed effectively to what will be 3 points. Every time I seem to watch Ethan Fisher, he impresses me with his distribution, with his maturity. Ollie Crawshaw, likewise. And Cole Simpson, once again, adding further goals to his name. I think if I was to be pushed for a single player of the match, I would opt to pick Ollie Crawshaw. I think he's having a fantastic weekend, and it's any one of those players could stake a claim. But I think the levels he's producing, the connection and the chemistry he's got with Ethan Fisher is a reason you're seeing them fly up the table, and barring a late goal, Newcastle United Foundation will end game week 3 with 4 wins from 4, 15 goals scored, just 1 conceded, which is title winning form. It's can they produce that against the top opposition? They've had a favourable fixture list in game week 3, but you can only win the games in front of you, and they've done exactly that. So Ollie Crawshaw will be my pick, but I could choose any number of those Newcastle players for that accolade.
Yeah, I think that's a good decision. Ollie Crawshaw was very influential, and that's full time. Newcastle 3 more points, 3 goals against Throstles, who struggled there. Some nice moments in the game for them, but nothing that helps them in their quest to stay in the Premiership. We'll get that league table that we were just talking about there up. Yeah, it's so tight at the top. You can see Newcastle into the top 3 now. They reached the 30-point mark, 2 points off West Bromwich Albion Throstles, and they'll be encouraged by that, Newcastle, because of course they still have to play West Bromwich Albion West Bromwich Albion twice.
Yeah.
So they've got a chance to, if they can take points off them both times, if they can win both, then they will overtake them. Obviously, games in hand for Aspire and West Bromwich Albion. Aspire, though, cannot catch Newcastle with that game in hand. 4 points behind them now in 5th. Yeah, it's so tight at the top. It's going to be a fantastic end to the campaign. And then looking at the other end, yeah, danger for Throstles. Real danger. When you look at Nottinghamshire, you look at Middlesbrough, both capable of pulling off victories. Colin Gordon's side might be a bit concerned the next time they look over their shoulder. Thank you guys for listening in. More games on this action-packed Sunday following here on Court A. See you soon.